Hey, welcome to the channel who's joining in. We actually created this channel primarily to complement our other existing channels out there. And other social networks we already have that are growing, thank God. So if you're just now joining us on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and turn on the notification bell. That way you'll always stay tuned into our channel. Here we talk about techniques, sports shooting training, the sport of shooting, and the defensive side of using your equipment. We also have Rocco Academy, which is a shooting academy. And today, actually, talking to my business partners, they told me the following: man, we have Our academy is quite different from many other typical online academies. In other online academies, just so you have a clear idea, the standard format is usually like this. They simply put up several pre-recorded course modules, complete comprehensive courses, and you then watch those courses at your own pace, after which you get your certificate, and that's essentially it. Your active participation is then completely over. However, at our specialized shooting academy, specifically at Rocco Academy, it's a little bit different. Every single week, we consistently post brand new video lessons that are typically 10 to 15 minutes long, providing continuous learning. We really focus on the fundamentals, and in this video, stick with us until the end because I'm going to explain why. Even though I'm a high-performance athlete, every week I go back to training the fundamentals. I even have a saying that goes like this: truly, whoever treats the fundamental principles as just basic is absolutely neglecting their own life, because fundamentals, the very basics, man, give off this particular vibe, this strong connotation of being something minor, something not truly important. The word basic always carries that inherent sense that something significant is missing when we talk about basics, right? Look at the difference when you say, oh, I'm going to teach an advanced course. I'm going to teach an intermediate course. Oh, but I'm going to teach a basic course. It feels like something's missing when you say the word basic there, but we think about it a little differently. We treat the basics as the essence. We treat the basics as one of the fundamentals with real importance. Importance that's on par with anything advanced, any other kind of advanced training, right? After all, if you don't have the basics, it's hard to build your intermediate or your advanced skills. You'll understand why, because in this video, I'm going to tell a bit of the story of how I got started. Maybe a lot of people out there might also be trying to get started and doesn't know where to begin, doesn't know how to get into the sport, to start out in this world of firearms training, and so on. And the mindset of someone who's just getting into the sport now, how does it work? Even my own mindset worked the same way I'm about to describe to you, but it's actually the wrong way to think, as I realized after meeting someone. An athlete from abroad, truly one of the top athletes in the entire world, and LT, break time equals 0.5s/, and GT, Jaakko Vitala from Finland, was the one who really opened my mind to the proper way to train, to what IPC really is all about. In my opinion, every member who joins a shooting club, who signs up and wants to use the range, should definitely have to take an IPSC course, because it's in IPSC that you really learn everything, man. There's no way around it. It's in IPSC where you learn the fundamentals, where you learn the safety rules, what you can and can't do at a shooting range. So that's where it all begins. It's in IPSC that you are born into the sport. And that's really where you get your start in the world of firearms. I started in 2017 and I only watched a lot of videos online. I never had any real guidance. And when we talk about guidance, that's when I go back to what I was saying about our online academy, about how Rocco Academy is different from the others. We really are different from everything else out there. Because, like I said before, in other schools and other shooting academies, you sign up. There are pre-recorded videos, but you don't have that interaction, that closeness with your instructor, that connection with the person who's actually teaching you the technique. So, at the academy, at Rocco Academy, it's different because I'm there, available 24 hours a day. Oh, Rocco, don't you work? On the contrary, I work a lot. Just to be able to provide this close support to the students takes up a lot of time. I used to joke with my wife and say, people who create content have it easy. They don't really work. Don't work? They work like crazy. So, the academy is different in that regard. And when I started in IPSC, everything was really different, very different. We used to genuinely think that sheer physical strength was absolutely everything, that we truly had to be much more explosive than everyone else, that we literally and quite physically had to be significantly faster to get from one particular station to another. And then, over time, we started to fully realize that there are indeed certain things that are much, much, much more important than physical strength. Let's talk about shotgun, for example. Some of the best in the world aren't exactly Mr. Universe types. They're not bodybuilding Olympia champions, no. And they're not Usain Bolt types either, in terms of being insanely fast or anything like that. They're not guys who are extremely physically prepared to the point that that's what makes the difference. There are a lot of things, a lot of really detailed things to see and to learn. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. I'm going to share a bit of that story with you in this video. So stay tuned with me, because this is another video for our channel, the Rocco Academy channel. And this story, guys, is a really interesting one, because I started back in 2017. I went to compete in my first Brazilian championship in 2017. And what you observed the greatest amount was a significant amount of running around, but it truly appeared to be a bunch of cats running from dogs, and dogs chasing after cats, just to see who was faster and could survive in that. On those courses, in those scenarios, right? Where we had to shoot. Then we went to compete in 2018. I went to compete in my first World Championship in 2018, which was in France. It was my first World Championship. When we got there, we actually met a Finnish guy, right? Kim Leppänen, who had been the world champion in 2015. And we were like, damn, first thing, let's go talk to him. Let's talk to Kim, right? And while we were talking to him, he introduced us to this guy, a little German guy, who also wasn't exactly, a physical specimen. A guy you'd look at and think, damn, this guy's a sprinter. No, he was actually kind of chubby, a bit on the heavier side. And Kim Leppänen said, look, the world champion this year is going to be this guy right here. You can write down what I'm telling you. And the guy's name was Jaakko Vitala. Anyway, I was lucky enough to. In my squad, in my shooting group, I would shoot in the morning one day and Jaakko would shoot in the afternoon. Then the next day Jaakko would shoot in the morning and I would shoot in the afternoon. So what did Soraya and I start doing? Oh, are we shooting in the afternoon? But let's go early to the range so we can watch Yakko shoot. The next day, when we shot in the morning, we'd stay at the range to watch Yakko shoot in the afternoon. There came a point when this guy would even walk past us, he already. And I think in his head he must have been thinking, right? Why are these two following me around? The whole championship, but anyway, we were there. Wherever the guy went, Soraya and I would grab our little chairs and go along. And we started to really notice some things that were truly different from what we were accustomed to doing, indeed. Here in Brazil, I'm telling you, you know what I mean? It's working. Very different from what we were used to doing here. And I told Soraya, like, I'm going to bring this guy to Brazil so we can do a course with him. Later, I'm going to send this part of the video to Yakko to take a look at. Since today he's my friend, we're friends, teammates on the Benelli team. Back then, I used to shoot with a locally made shotgun. I had no experience at all. The gun was terrible. I was terrible. There wasn't much reason to be hopeful. But anyway, we did some research to bring this guy to Brazil. When we saw the price of everything, we almost fell over backwards. But it was fine. Let's get 3 or 4 people together, split the cost, and bring him over. That's when our entire mindset within the sport truly started to significantly and substantially change. We genuinely started to fully and completely realize that running, along with physical strength and being insanely fast from one specific point to another, wasn't, well, not that it isn't, and LT. Break time equals 0.5s/ and GT. Quote, important, but only in a much smaller portion than we thought it was. A much smaller portion than we imagined it would be. I think you get what I mean, right? We started to understand that IPSC is a game. IPSC is a game of strategy, a game of fundamentals, and a mental game. Extremely mental. We brought the guy over. One of the things that truly caught our keen attention was when he explicitly told us, this is still very, very clear in my mind even today, that IPSC is fundamentally a regularity rally, and most certainly not a speed rally. You have to understand the IPSC game. You have to understand how it works. In this video, we're not going to go that deep. Maybe in other content I'll go deeper, but in this video what I want is to spark something in the minds of athletes who are just starting out, to help them begin to understand the game, the way to play this game. One of the things that really caught our attention was when he set up a scenario for us. He grabbed a clipboard, he grabbed a piece of paper, and he started drawing the scenario on that paper. Then we might say, but that's what the stage diagrams are for, the ones we did before we shoot. Not at all. Those diagrams, that drawing on paper you get beforehand, that's only for us to know how many targets are in the stage, how many total targets there will be in the match, how many targets. Moving targets there will be in the match. What else? And for us to get a very, but really very superficial idea of what we're going to find during a shooting match. Why is that? That drawing, most of the time, isn't actually true to the real stage. Now, a lot of people will say, yes, it is true to the stage. Guys, there's a lot in that drawing that we didn't know about, and you're about to find out now. Distance is important, Whether I go to the left or to the right first is important. The distance from one position to another, where I'm going to do my reloads, is important. What else? Another thing he said, watching the pre-match is for you to see the weight of the steel, the speed of the moving targets, period. He said something that, to me, is true. This might stir up some controversy in the video, but it's true. Don't take strategies from ROs. We have a lot of respect for ROs. Without ROs, there wouldn't be any competition. They are essential to the IPC, but they're not top shooters. It's rare to see an RO who is a top shooter. So have your own strategy. And watch the pre-match to see the weight of the steel, especially the poppers and mini poppers, and the speed of the swingers. Anyway, then he started drawing. And we started looking at each other and saying, what the heck is this guy doing? Then we started to realize that what he was doing was putting together his own strategy. What was he going to do in that scenario? Up until then, we hadn't seen the drawing, and he started to explain it to us. Forget about that sketch you get from the Federation, from the Confederation. Anyway, forget about that. You just toss that aside. You only look at those things I mentioned. You will get there quite early on the actual day of the competition, and you will make your very own drawing. You place the targets at the distance. At a projected distance based on what you see on the course. You draw the fault lines. You sketch them out. You draw the screens. You draw the barriers. You draw the no-shoots. You draw the moving targets. You draw the moving targets. After you've meticulously drawn out the entire scenario, that's precisely when you should begin adding all of your crucial strategy information into it, carefully and thoughtfully. I'm not going to go into detail about all the aspects that go into this strategy, because that deeper dive is for the Academy students. Both for the Academy students here in Brazil and for the Academy students in the United States and Canada. So I'm not going to go too deep. But in that drawing is where all the information goes, everything that's going to happen, everything that could happen. Actually, no, I'm not going to talk about that part. That part is just for the Academy. So, we already realized that the IPSC game was different. It was something else. There was preparation involved. We were used to showing up a day before the championship, checking out the stages, doing a walkthrough, and visualizing it in our heads. That's why the next day, when it was time to shoot, you'd forget the target, leave it behind, couldn't remember anything anymore. There's no way you can remember what you're going to do in 8 or 12 different scenarios. With just 3 minutes of walkthrough right before the championship, that's impossible. That's impossible. So, we realized that there was already a strategy there. When that guy left, those of us who took the course with him started showing up at the Brazilian Championships and drawing. And a lot of people laughed at us. What are these guys doing? What's the drawing? What is that? These guys are just casually doodling before the actual end LT. Break time equals 0.5s/ and GT event. And let me tell you, all you PSC athletes out there, please listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. Some people my age will certainly remember a truly focused Brazilian athlete we once had, one of the absolute best, in my humble opinion, named Ayrton Senna. This particular Finn, this Jaco Vitala, he is truly the Ayrton Senna of PSC. Many years will undoubtedly go by, and we simply won't find another individual who understood the game as exceptionally well as this remarkable Finn did. He understood it just like Ayrton Senna understood speed, like he understood Formula One. And people started laughing at us drawing and drawing, but then we started getting different results, even better than those who laughed at us. And today, if you go to a Brazilian championship, you will see everyone there with a little piece of paper in their hand. Not literally everyone, but 80 to 90% of the athletes have a little piece of paper in their hand, making their sketches, something we brought to Brazil in 2019. So it was, at least in shotgun. I'm talking about shotgun here, not handgun. I don't know how they do it in handgun, but I believe there must be some kind of study too. But in shotgun, we brought this approach to Brazil. Then the Brazilians started doing it too. On this guy's second visit, Yakos, we were already getting good results. He talked a lot with us about mental planning and preparing before the championship. Let me just give you one piece of information, okay? This guy, for example, this Finnish guy, before going to the championship, he knows, or someone has already visited for him, the hotel where he's going to stay. He knows the firmness of the mattress he'll be sleeping on. He knows how many hours of sleep he needs to get. He gets used to the food in advance. He knows what kind of preparation he needs to do, how much energy he's going to spend, how many calories he's going to burn during training, depending on the climate he'll find in another country, and a whole bunch of other things that I'm only going to share with the students from Academy Brazil, Academy United States, and Academy Canada. So here's what happened. There was another world championship. We did a little better this time, but we could still tell that we were way behind the shooters from other countries. We were still pretty far behind the shooters from abroad. And we kept trying to bring that European culture over, especially the Finnish approach. Those kinds of preparations to hear. A guy in Brazil who really understood this well was actually a teammate of Benelli's, so that's why I'm going to mention his name. He's a guy from the south of the country named Lucas Roth, who is currently the best shooter on the planet in the standard division, with a 12-gauge semi-auto. And if you stop to think, to make a rough, yet insightful, comparison between shooter styles, this Lucas Roth and Lucas Vargas, who is also a very skilled shooter from Brazil, have a style that is remarkably similar to Jocko, that well-known Finnish guy. These are indeed talented Brazilian athletes who are also making a significant name for themselves in the competitive shooting world. But it was something I really insisted on, always saying that technique in IPSC shotgun is more important than physical strength and speed. So, from the moment you understand the IPSC game, your competition changes. And here's a detail and a tip for those of you who are just starting out. Don't pay attention to what your friend says. Don't listen to that guy who's going to be there on the day of the match whispering in your ear, saying, "Oh, you don't need to do that. Why are you making that plan? Why are you changing things?" Don't pay attention to that. On the day of your championship, run your own competition. Don't change your strategy, even if you see someone else doing it differently. Don't change what you planned, what you studied. There's a steady schedule for this to work. It's not just about putting it on paper and thinking everything will magically work out. There's a plan for this to succeed. The students at the Brazil, Canada, and United States Academy will have access to this content. Watch good shooters, but be careful with YouTube, especially when it comes to bad content. I mean, you might end up picking up bad habits from shooters you see online. So, watch quality YouTube content and understand that shooting goes way beyond just showing up on the day of the match and thinking you can just pull the trigger and solve everything. That's not how it works. IPSC is an art. IPSC is an art. That was a little bit of my story. In this super awesome sport. Once again, if you made it this far, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and give us a thumbs up. It's really important for us. And we're here with open arms for you at Rocco Academy, both in Brazil and internationally. And we try to end every video with the same message, so it really sticks in your minds and in your heads. There are two really important phrases here. Whoever treats the fundamentals as basic neglects life. And here at Rocco Academy, we teach what we actually do in practice. See you in the next video, right here on our YouTube channel. Thanks, everyone.